Cheers.
Cheers.
Uh, That's delicious.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of wine is that?
It's unshackled. It's a
What would you
cab.
compare it to?
Like for another cab in the same class, like a Bonanza, it's a nice cab. It's smooth and it's full bodied, not too dry.
Where did you learn your wine experience?
When I worked at a restaurant called La Brochette Bistro, which is in Cooper City, I worked with a sommelier and it was my best friend's family's restaurant growing up. So we started with the little wine glasses when we were younger, just to taste. And then eventually I worked there as an adult. And I feel like I gained a lot of knowledge from there. And then traveling, going to Italy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. We did your headshots.
Yep.
You are a travel advisor, a luxury travel advisor.
Yep. I'm a travel advisor and I specialize in luxury travel. So that is my
Could you tell me what that actually means?
luxury travel.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a different tier of travel because it's a little bit higher end. There's a lot more details that go into that kind of planning. You do more of it's a full inclusive service. So you deal with the transfers with the hotels, the restaurants, along with activities. And instead of doing like a group rental on a boat, usually the luxury clients are doing like a private charter. And so you have to know what your client wants. It's a lot more, what's the word?
Concierge?
It's like a concierge, yeah, as well as a travel advisor. But beyond that, it's a much more personalized approach to travel planning than just like the general low, medium, high. Like that's kind of tiers a lot of people will put in a quote that includes like a basic, lower end, a medium pricing, and then the one that would be considered higher. Whereas luxury travel, it's very specific to the needs and wants of the client.
Can you give me an example? Couples, families, what type of trips happen? I guess the most.
A lot are couples. Some are families and some are friends. You know, I have people that some professional athletes and they go with their friends and a bunch of couples in a group go. And then I have a majority of my clients are like 1 to 3 couples basically that travel together.
And what's the average costs of something like this?
It depends on a million factors.
Okay.
As in
Give me
where
an
they're going.
Give me an example of your most expensive.
I feel like my most expensive for 3 couples was in the like 80,000 range.
Okay. What'd they do?
They got a villa in the Caribbean, like a very high-end villa for a week.
Okay.
And then they had, butler service 24/7. They could call chef service. It included all the excursions. The villa community dealt with that all. Yeah. So meals, they had yoga on the beach. They have all of the things to have activities like right there, including jet skis, kayaks, paddle boards. All of the things were at the house, a huge grill at the pool. Somebody would come and grill food for them. Their transfers to whatever restaurants or clubs or shopping they wanted to go to was included. So it was like one of these very high-end villa companies that almost everything is inclusive, but you can pick it and gear it towards exactly what they want. It's not just like they pick it for you. It's very customizable.
Okay.
So,
Very cool.
yeah.
And then like, what's your low end like?
In luxury travel?
Yeah. What's the low end of luxury travel? Like, give me a starting price.
Okay.
That's what I'm looking for.
I don't feel like low end is the right word, but if
You're right. It's not the right word.
It's not. But if the pricing is the lower price point of pricing is just a shorter trip and a closer destination.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Okay.
I specialize in Italy, Greece, French Riviera, majority of my trips, as well as like Switzerland, which is Switzerland and Italy are very close to each other. So a lot of people tend to do both of them. But my main clientele is doing Greece, Greek islands, of course, Italy, all over, and French Riviera.
Are these all places that you've been to?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
Yep. Place I've been to, built relationships with over the years, and I have really good contacts with now. So one of my favorite wineries in Tuscany, if they're booked out for the month, they will fit my clients in, no questions asked. And so I build these direct relationships, not just working through what we call suppliers, which is hotels, the big companies, Expedia, Delta Vacations, American Vacations. I'm building relationships with these wineries, small locally owned businesses that are doing very well, but they work with a lot of bigger companies like Viter, Get Your Guide, which take a huge percentage. And where I come in, I work directly with them. I'm not taking that crazy amount. And they give me a great rate, which gives my clients an even lower rate than what is advertising online. And I'm happy, they're happy. And then they can also squeeze my clients in when there's no availability, technically speaking.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons you go with me.
Okay. Hell yeah. Cheers to that.
Cheers. Why do my wine glasses always look so messy? All the lip gloss.
All right. So, like, how do you get started in this?
So I think the biggest thing to get started, you have to know the market. You have to know the type of clients you want to go that you want to work with, that you want to specialize with. Cause in travel, you have to specialize in something. It's too wide of a range of things. People can specialize in cruises, Disney vacations, something like Silver Seas, which is those really expensive cruises that go on for like 3 months to like a year. That's like its own niche in itself because that's a completely different clientele and age group and all of that. You can do like what I do, which is like the land trips and transfers via ferry, plane, all of that throughout Europe. You can also do like bachelorettes, bachelor parties. That can be your niche. You can do South America, Central America. There's a bunch of different things. You can't do it all and be successful because how are you going to, your client's going to refer you business? Like they're going to think of exactly what they did. And that's who they're going to tell. When that person says, I want to go here, where should I go? They're going to tell them where they went to or what they did with you. And that's why you're going to get more clients. And that's for me, how I've gotten my clients as well.
Okay. So, like, riches are in the niches.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
absolutely.
I gotta stop saying hell yeah.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah.
All right. So, where's your favorite place to travel to?
I love Italy.
Okay.
I love Italy and I love Greece, and I feel like they're very tied. But I really love history. I really love wine. I love traveling throughout Italy because there's so much to see and there's so many different regions where you get a completely different experience and you could do it all within one trip, which is really cool.
You live here in Fort Lauderdale?
Yeah, I do.
Where do you recommend people go get wine from here?
I would say Sidewalk Bottle Shop is one of my favorites because they have natural wines.
Where's the best wine?
Tuscany,
Okay.
in my opinion, and in my clients' opinions too. I mean, in France, there's a lot of really good wine too. It's very hard, but I love people love Tuscany and that experience.
And so, is that the experience that you're like typically going for if you're going to Tuscany? Like, you're going to be drinking good wines? What else happens in Tuscany? I have no clue.
So Tuscany is a very cool region because there's a lot of different things to do. So if you like fast cars and motorcycles, the roads are windy, long, they're just the scenery and everything is absolutely beautiful. It's just rolling hills. It's a lot of green with these medieval castles and villages and all of these things that were turned into places that are like wineries now and hotels, even though it's not like a hotel, it's like a completely different mind-blowing experience because you're staying within literally like medieval walls where people lived and worked and royalty lived. So I think that experience is very cool because you can do like the race cars, the bikes, and then you can also do the wineries and the cooking classes, and then you can visit these medieval cities like Siena and San Gimignano, which are like compounds within themselves that are mind blowing because it's like something you would see in a book you read or like something like that. It's not actually something you could think still exists in this world until you see it. It's crazy. And then, yeah, so there's a lot of different experience you could do. You can do truffle hunting, like I said, the cooking classes, make your own pasta, things like this. And I just feel like there's so much to do, especially if you like being outdoors. There's hiking, there's a lot of wellness retreats, yoga, as well as all of these awesome experiences where you can indulge in wine and food and what you like on vacation.
I don't even know. I feel like I don't get to go on vacations that often. Every time I do vacation, it's typically for work.
For work, yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I know. We need to get you over to Tuscany for real.
That, and you also said I should go to the Greek islands?
Yeah, absolutely. The Greek islands. There's so many that like A lot of the islands that have been my favorite to go to are so crazy crowded right now that it's almost better to go to the lesser. If you want to go to party instead of going to Mykonos, you can go to Paros, but I would still recommend going to Mykonos, just not in the middle of season. Go like in the shoulder, like in May or in September, October.
Okay.
But the Greek islands, there's so many of them that are just beautiful on all sides of Greece. It's not just that like little region where Santorini, Mykonos, Paros is. There's a bunch of different islands that are all kind of together around Greece, and they are all completely different. But the water there is, I feel like, some of the most beautiful water that you'll ever see. It's like emerald, but clear and just gorgeous.
Heard that.
Yeah.
How do you stay updated with all of, like, you just said it was out of season, so, like, how do you stay updated with all this?
I just know it from traveling a lot isn't necessarily great in other parts of the world. So it's definitely based on weather and seasons. And I just know them. In Europe, high season is summer,
Okay.
but that the very high season is like mid-June through August. And that's also when it's really hot, but it's just that is the time that hits. So if you go in late April or May, it may be a little cooler, but you'll be able to actually enjoy yourself in these islands that you just can't in the middle of July.
Okay.
So, in the busier islands. So, yeah, that basically is based on weather. So, in Iceland, it's obviously different, and Hawaii and Brazil, it's all the weather is different. So, you just got to make sure you're going during the right time, but not in the middle of peak season.
Copy that.
That makes
So just
sense.
yep, just so the shoulders.
Yeah, the shoulder season, like the outside of either the beginning or the
So
end.
that means the middle's the head.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Yep.
All right. So I asked you that. I had another question on one of my cards. I said, could you share a story of a particularly memorable luxury experience you've done for a client? That's what I asked already before.
You
Well,
didn't really, but that's okay.
it's the same but different. All right. What advice would you give someone looking to start their own travel business?
The advice that I would give is to go into this knowing that it is a business. Travel sounds so fun, but it doesn't matter if you're a travel blogger, a travel content creator, or a travel advisor. It is a ton of work. You have to learn a lot, and then you have to figure out where you fit in and what you're going to enjoy doing, even when you're working late. It's not, a 9 to 5 business. You can set boundaries on your time, but you work when you want to because it's virtual. So you have to do something you're going to enjoy all the time, I feel like. Also, it is figuring out based on your network who you're going to realistically, what would be your target audience. Of course, that also can change based on your social media and what you're promoting and where you fit in the algorithm and all of this. But I would personally start looking into, who do I know? What do they enjoy doing? What do I enjoy doing? So it can be something that you're passionate about, even when it can get annoying and a little redundant and exhausting, and something that you can tolerate if somebody's calling you in the middle of the trip and something goes wrong. So I think people need to understand it is work. It's not just fun. But I also think that you need to take a look at who you know, what they like to do, what you like to do, as well as just be consistent with everything you're doing, because there's always going to be something new to learn, new to do, a new trip, a new cruise, a new vacation package. So you really do have to stay in tune with the technology. Also, that is true with the apps. There's so many apps coming out. And you can't just have all of them. You have to pick one that you like. So you just have to really get a good grasp of everything so you work efficiently, enjoy what you're doing, and don't just spread yourself too thin.
Two things you hit. So one was the apps. I definitely want to know what apps you're using, and we'll come back to it. How do you make sure when people are on these trips, if something goes wrong? I was gonna say, can you give me a story or an example of a time when something went wrong and how you handled it?
Yeah. Yeah, easily. Something that can happen that's not the most uncommon is transportation within whatever destination. A train can be late, and then that causes a domino effect, or a ferry could be late to pick them up. And if they're ferrying back, to like the mainland to then take a train to get on their flight, it literally causes a ripple effect and everything. And that's not something where you can call, if a flight's messed up, it's the airline. Unless you can, it's very urgent and you have to switch them and they have to buy a whole new ticket and deal with it later. But the more serious matter is when you're booking through multiple different companies and you have to be somewhere for something else and then it just screws everything up. So you have to just stay calm, let them know, stay calm. And if there are delays and things like that in the TNCs, a lot of the time you can get refunded. And so you got to know some of the rules with the companies you're working with, like the big train systems and all of this, or buy a refundable ticket every time. If it's luxury, it's the best thing you can do. Even if it's a little more, they're going to spend the money. And usually it's only $10 to $20 more. And it could be a little bit more. Even on a hotel, the most it's like 100 extra for the trip usually, or 100 a night, depending on where you are. So definitely recommend that. But in cases like that, you just have to be there because they don't know there's a million train companies. There's plenty different ferry companies. There's so much that goes into it. And when your client's there, they're not thinking of any of that because you planned it. So they're not familiarized. So what I did in that situation before is obviously I had to rebook every single one, check and make sure those were all on time, and then hope that they are, or I'll have to do that all over again. Second time around, refundable again, because this can literally happen based on weather, you know, who knows, pandemic circumstances, shortage of staff. And that way, you have peace of mind. They have peace of mind that, I did this the right way this time, 99% sure it's going to work. But if it doesn't, we still have another option. But you just have to be on top of it. And when your clients are traveling, you if it's in the middle of the night here because they're in Europe, you can't have your phone on do not disturb all night like usual. Like you may have to get up, actually help them, but
All right. So you brought up two things. One of them was I was going to ask what happens in the middle of the night and do you prepare for that? So like, that it can't be on do not disturb. And so anyway,
you just if you're working with Europe, that's another thing. If you're in the United States, the timing isn't that different. You can kind of,
okay.
if you're working in this business, hopefully you're smart enough to think about these things. If it's a 3-hour time change, it's not a 7 or 6, 7, 8 hour more, depending on where in the world other clients are of certain travel agents. But it's just something you you learn over time that this could happen. And if certain days are traveling in the evening, or I will just kind of wake up, I automatically do it now, periodically check, and then
How do you
it is
make
what it
sure
is.
how do you make sure they're safe?
I just don't let them travel in destinations that I know aren't safe. And if it's a risky place in between point A to point B, I will make sure they have, they're not taking the train and getting somewhere in the middle of the night. They're doing Day Trip is an example of a platform that does really great driving all the time. So when I was at Tomorrowland in Belgium, to get to Mykonos, there was only a 6 a.m. flight, and we're in the middle of nowhere in Belgium. So I had to have somebody pick us up at 2 a.m. And it wasn't the safest area either because nothing is around Tomorrowland, basically.
Okay.
It's not unsafe. It's just you're not familiar with it.
Okay.
So I wouldn't feel safe running around with my luggage.
Okay.
So I had to have somebody come in. They were Day Trip. I booked them over here ahead of time, of course. They picked us up at 2 a.m., brought us over to the Amsterdam airport safely because there were no trains running at that time anyway. And we weren't going to just randomly call a cab because you just don't know. So even though it's I didn't feel super unsafe, I didn't feel good enough to do it. And that for me, preparing ahead of time was the reason everything went smoothly.
Okay.
So I think that's one way. And there are certain destinations where you just know they're higher risk. I don't believe all the travel advisories the United States puts out because sometimes it's things aren't great here everywhere. You know what I mean? So you can't just cover a whole country.
Right.
So I think, if you really have good knowledge of where you're sending your clients, you're going to know. And if you think it's a risky area, you're going to tell them. But where I travel and where my clients go, there's not really a lot of that. So it's not something I really have to be aware of. But if you're doing Mexico travel or anywhere in Central America, you just have to be conscientious of the towns that you're sending people and the transportation between them, and South America as well.
What was the first job you said you had in the essentially
In
travel?
travel, I was in college and I did sales and operations in student travel. So I would sell the trips to high school and college students, whether it was a grad trip or spring break trips. And then I would be in the destinations for weeks at a time sometimes, like in the Bahamas or Punta Cana or Acapulco for weeks at a time, operationally running these trips when these kids weren't much younger than me. So that was fun, but I got the experience and I understood the business in a bit of a different way, but I got it from the back end, you know?
Then after that, what'd you do?
I worked in different like corporate sales, marketing. I worked in medical sales, tech, and then I had my own event staffing company.
Okay.
So I've dealt a lot with events and stuff as well. So the planning thing, it's just in my nature. I'm good with it. I can think of every detail that needs to be thought out ahead of time. And the times I didn't, I learned from it and it never happened again. But I definitely feel like, and that's especially important in luxury travel because you have to get every detail because your clients are spending quite a bit of money. So, yeah.
Okay. Ask that. Ask that. This is gangster.
Oh gosh. Take a sip of wine.
Yeah, I asked you about the apps. And so you kind of named off one, which was for traveling.
Yeah. So now I use Google Drive for when I need to share different hotels and whatnot with my clients. I just use the spreadsheets and the docs and I make them a folder and everyone can access it and go through it. But my main travel app that I use now that I didn't even realize all the capabilities until recently is called Travify. It's $39.99 a month, something like that. I have a link, so I will give that to you. If you know of anybody that is looking for a really great travel platform, they give you a very simple way to build a website. They do so you can build a website on there for your travel bookings. You can do all of your itinerary building and proposals on there. So you can do a proposal that when the client accepts it, it turns into itinerary, or you can just build an itinerary. It has something where you can enter in the time, the confirmation numbers of any hotel, activity, dinner, trip, transportation, shuttle, ferry, anything like that. So, and they will actually pop up with the different companies that you're working with. So when your clients are looking from their end on an app, they could just click the links for their own info and it also connects maps. So for itineraries, it's great for building a nice little website that's basically like a landing page that brings you to your forms and whatnot. Then it also has where you send to your clients in an email through the platform where they can input their passport info, credit card info. They can sign your contracts, your travel contracts, your service fee, agree with it, signature. They sign that as well before you start doing a ton of work. It's very, very helpful to have all of these things in place. And then as well as like a few different things that involve ideas for different destinations. They have a lot of marketing materials. And then they even like have YouTube videos where your clients can go on and see how to set up the app on their phone that they're using to view their itinerary, even though it's pretty like straightforward in the email. If anybody's having trouble, send them that YouTube video. It'll be super easy for them. So it's kind of an all inclusive. And then that's where all of the credit cards you get, passport info lives and it's secured.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
What
And
about like email updates and stuff? Do they do additional marketing in that app at all?
so no, you'd have to set something up you can do email marketing within there, but if you want like a very strong email marketing campaign, you'd obviously want to use a third party like MailChimp or,
Okay.
you know.
No, what I don't know.
Well, yes, that's you can email the forms and everything to your clients and you can email brochures and different marketing templates they have, but it's not like you can set them up like you can in a MailChimp and other things like that.
Man, I'm crushing all of my questions without using this. Oh yeah, in a competitive industry, how do you separate yourself from everyone else?
I believe the fact that I have such a strong travel background that involves a lot of insider knowledge is a big plus to my clients. Well, I know it is. I don't believe it. That's one of the things that clients really love. They know I have a history within travel.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's important. But I think more important than that is that I'm willing to listen to them. I am also willing to go the extra mile. If it's something I'm not familiar with, I'm going to help them and figure it out no matter what. I get back to people on time. I get back to people fast. I have a very good relationship with my clients in the sense that if they don't want to just email me and they want to text me, they can. I have boundaries, of course. And after certain times, I'm not going to write back no matter who you are. But I think that, building a trustful relationship also is very important when it comes to that. And staying organized, that way your client doesn't have to worry about things falling through the cracks is very important.
What
Did I answer that question right? I started forgetting it.
I said in a competitive industry,
What sets me
what
apart?
sets you apart? And you did. You
Yeah.
labeled a bunch of things that separate you. Awesome.
My knowledge.
This podcast is fucking epic. All right. Can you share any tips for marketing and promoting your travel business? I got to assume it's word of mouth, like just one good one at a time.
It's definitely word of mouth. I know a lot of people and it's very helpful for me, but even if you didn't, I get a lot of clients through social media, especially Instagram. The way they have the algorithm and all of that set up, it does work when you're consistently posting and you're posting within your niche, like whatever it may be. So I've gotten some of my best clients from Instagram. It's kind of unbelievable, but really. And sometimes having clients that don't really know you, it's better than servicing people that you know, even if it's an acquaintance, because they respect you a little bit more. And I feel like it's a really good way to get yourself in completely different markets than just the local area or who you know that knows somebody, because they're all over the place where I don't really have networks in those places, Ohio, Atlanta, all over the country. So I think it's very good for people that are working in travel to have a very consistent and well structured Instagram, because Instagram will help you out. And that is another really good way to get leads, as well as word of mouth. Word of mouth is king to everything because people just trust you automatically.
So one headshot at a time, or one client at one trip at a time?
Yeah.
Or is it multiple trips? If you go on multiple trips, is it one trip or is it?
Yeah, it's one. If it's
If
if it's all connecting,
okay,
you're in 3 different whatever it is, if you're gone, it's one trip.
that's one.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's one
all right.
trip.
Can you share? Oh, no, we already did this. Yeah. What were the biggest challenges for you as an entrepreneur coming up in this travel luxury world?
Not realizing how many things there are to learn.
Okay.
It is, and that's where you also just have to be smart and pick and choose certain suppliers. And just for everyone that doesn't know, suppliers is considered these big brands where you book through. So whether it be Delta Vacations, Hilton Hotels, a cruise ship, Virgin Voyages, you work directly on their back end. So they're suppliers.
Okay.
So for me, that's one of the most important things, because you don't realize how much there is on the back end, which is why you have to niche down and you have to figure out what you're going to specialize in. But either way, it can still be very overwhelming. So you have to do a lot of education, and the education is things you do on your time. It's your business. Nobody's telling you to. You have to watch the videos. You have to go through the trainings, and it can be bothersome at first and time consuming. But once you get through them, you get through them. And yeah, there may be updates, but getting through them and having a full knowledge of how their back end works will save you a lot of time, rather than having to call them for every booking or figure that out on your own, or bother somebody that knows everything when you have to learn it yourself, especially if you want to teach others eventually one day how to do this or that. So,
Are you going to teach others one day?
yes, definitely. That's like in the pipeline right now. I definitely want to create like some digital products that involve teaching people how to plan a trip. And then more importantly, teaching people how to open their own travel business. And that's from setting up the LLC to the website and the right apps to use, the right suppliers to use, depending on their niche, like coaching them in that way and just helping them be able to streamline the process so they don't have to go through everything that I went through.
Heard that.
Which was overwhelming because I didn't really understand the back end of things, even though I've been planning trips since before I could remember. It's a completely different world. So yeah.
Heard that. What are some emerging we already did this. Gangster. All right. Can you share a valuable lesson you learned in your journey? Yeah. Can you share Can you share a valuable lesson valuable lesson? Yeah. Let me try that one more time.
Okay.
Can you share a valuable lesson with me that you learned on your luxury real estate? Hold on. Can you share a valuable lesson? You know what? I'm always told, like, my business partner, he always tells me, he goes, dude, just fucking read the lines. I'm like, yeah, but I kind of want to like
want
put
to
my own
change
spin
them.
on it, but it's better I just do this. All right. Can you share a valuable lesson you learned in your journey that aspiring travel entrepreneurs can benefit from?
Yes, I would say that when you're getting into this business, pick something you know. I love traveling to Italy and Greece myself and France, and that was something I knew. I think it's a good way to start with figuring out. I stuck with it because I love it so much and I've been to those places multiple times, but I think start with something you know and understand so you can figure out the back end of it in the most simple form because you're familiar with things. And then from there, figure out what you're going to focus on. But definitely start with something you know. And then I would also say be patient with yourself and don't overwhelm yourself. Take on one client at a time in the beginning and like know your boundaries based on your knowledge. And then once you get everything, because in the beginning, one trip can take you forever. You do that a year later, and it's like boom, 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 because you've replicated that so many times and figured out all the inconsistencies with the different platforms and what you can do and not do on one or the other. But in the beginning, you don't know anything. So I think just also being patient with yourself and giving yourself time to learn and investing time in learning, not just taking on clients when you don't know what you're doing. So I think that's
How
really good
how much
advice.
learning should they be doing? So like, what is it? Like an hour, 2 hours of like,
I would
how long do you think your course is going to be?
Oh, so me personally, if somebody were to take my
Yeah.
course, I think it's going to be spread out over maybe a 2 week period. So they could do 30 minutes to an hour a day.
Okay.
And then obviously, I think the biggest thing when I work with other people that are passionate about the business that I would like to empower because they can do it if they really want to would be that the figuring out the specialty and me working with them to figure out their niche and showing them kind of the ropes within that because I understand all of them because I messed with all of them for a while. So I can help no matter what it is. And so I think, the course would probably be about 2 weeks, a little bit a day, or spread out if you're not going to do it every day, you know?
Mhm.
And I think also the one-on-one calls would be super important. So, a couple of those until you feel like you're ready. And then a constant contact that's included where they can ask me questions and I'll have frequently asked questions and all of that I'm gathering from the people I've helped in the past.
Sounds like going to provide a lot of value.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right.
Got to teach other
Um,
people what you know. You do that all the time. So,
yes. Yeah, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
yeah. That's your good karma is all the business you're getting.
That's karma is so real.
It
If
is.
you just give and don't ask, I mean, you still should. I don't know how. Like I ask, but like that's like praying, right? So like,
Yeah, yeah,
please give
yeah.
me,
Of
but like,
course. Like affirming that
yeah. But
in
if
your
you just
life.
give it away and you like don't have any real expectations, I just did this the other day with somebody. They didn't know about Chat GPT, and so I was like, "Yo, like,
That's another thing I want to teach people in the travel that are getting into this is how to utilize Chat GPT in an efficient way that can help streamline your process. But anyway, so you were telling
no,
somebody
no,
about Chat
that's all
GPT
right."
and you taught me. That's why I had to bring that up. Yes.
It's really all about the prompts. And so if you don't have the right prompt, you'll get the wrong answer. And so you should sell a list of prompts.
Yeah, yeah. And then just how detailed you can go within each prompt that you get to get like the answer 50 different ways and with multiple answers and different details that are involved. It's like, it's crazy when it's like one of those things like wine, like you can never stop learning about it because there is so much to learn because it's a freaking robot that is way more intelligent than us. And it's got all the information that was ever on the internet, basically. So,
Currently up to 2021. Have you tried Bard yet?
no.
Bard is Google's version.
Okay, yes, yes, I've heard that.
Hi,
You can cue me in, but what were you saying about helping people that I cut you off with
no worries, you're all good.
ChatGPT? You were just
No, no.
saying
So I was helping somebody else just as I had helped you, and it was my example of like I was helping somebody else learn something that could greatly improve them, and then the karma came back to me in a whole bunch of positive ways, and that was it as its crux.
okay.
But we sideline sometimes. My fault, your fault. You're all good. No fault. Let's fault. Can you share a success story of someone that you've fuck me, I'm good at this.
Yeah.
All
You've
right.
done them all.
How do you balance content, developing digital products, and providing mentorship to aspiring travel entrepreneurs?
You have to stay organized. You have to,
How do you stay organized? Do
by
you
creating a schedule of when you're going to focus on content, when you're going to focus on mentoring, teaching others, or creating things and resources and products that are going to help those people, as well as allotting enough time to help your clients.
break that down for me?
So you can, I know a lot of people talk about for Instagram, like doing bulk content. You can do that, or you can do an hour a day where your phone is literally on do not disturb. And all you're focusing on is either coming up with what you're going to do next, or filming what you're going to do next, or editing what you're going to do next. You know, everyone's different. And I don't think there is a right or wrong way for things like this. Is some people like to do things in different orders than I do. So I would say that aspect of it for content, either do it in bulk or spread it out throughout your schedule. And always have your phone on do not disturb, because you can waste a whole hour getting back to people about things. You need to have a time allotted for getting back to people as well, whether it's texts or emails. You need a time to focus on, if you're doing like mentorship and education, that is, it could be a whole day for something like that if it's very time heavy, because gotten a lot, you have a lot of clients. And then for the just travel business itself, that has to be a certain amount of time every day, because if you once you get multiple clients, and you don't want too many at once ever. You want high quality, high service for luxury. It's not, pushing things out. So that's every single day. And then also giving yourself downtime. Like, I will just be like, I'm not going to be available these days. Or today, obviously, I had this, and I have clients that I'm working on their trips. I'm like, I'll be available tomorrow. I have something important today and I'm going to be busy. You don't have to tell everyone everything and explain yourself, but just give yourself time, whether it's your own things like this or it's family time and all of that. And then schedule what you should be doing. Even if it doesn't happen exactly like that, you have to give a time for getting back to people and replies. You have to give a time to working on your own business, whether it be your own website or Instagram or social media. And then creating content has to be another one. So time blocking is just super important, and there's a million ways to do it. So the best thing is to ask Chat GPT or go on YouTube or Google and see the different ways people are advising on how to do it.
Heard. All
Hopefully
right.
that was a good
That
answer.
was a fucking great answer.
Okay.
That was awesome. I'm happy to be talking to somebody that can talk.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I sit here,
You're like
nothing. All right. What role does mindset play in the journey of building a successful travel business?
mindset, I think, in having anything successful in your life, whether it be relationships, work, family, things you're working on, projects in your house, you have to have a mindset that's positive, willing to learn. You have to be kind to yourself. And I think having not a positive outlook, that's like such a broad term, but having an outlook that you believe in yourself and that you can accomplish these things even when the going gets tough, which it does for everything. I think mindset in this business specifically is everything, because there's going to be times where you're going to be using a platform and it's just going to be like, you're going to be like, oh my God, I did all of this. And then it doesn't work because they don't have those capabilities.
Mm.
Or
What are some capabilities that they could not have?
okay. So for me, for people that do, honestly, if you're getting into this the first time and you want something easy to make you the most amount of money, get into cruises, because you do have to work with the client and consult, but you're booking one cruise and all the activities are within the cruise usually, and everything. And they help them with a lot of the nitty gritty. You're literally booking for them. I'm booking. So this is the thing that brings me back to one of the issues in technology and all of these supplier platforms. So I do a lot of trips that are both multi-city, multi-destination. And so that means you fly into one place. I'm going to give an example. You fly into Milan, you fly out of Naples, and then you also stay at multiple hotels throughout your journey, right? So Not American, not Booking, not Expedia. None of these platforms you can do that and actually book it to where you fly into one city, you stay at a hotel for 3 days, another hotel for 3 days, another hotel, and then you fly out of another city. So that means that you're very limited. The only platform that allows you this option is Delta Vacations out of all of them.
No American Express?
That's a completely different, they have their own like in-home travel agent.
Okay.
So that's completely different from what we do.
Okay.
But so basically that means that you learn that you can't do multi-city, multi-destination trips on any other platform. So you can do flying into Milan, leaving from Milan, and do 2 hotels in different towns, but you can't start in one place and end in another, and that's what literally everyone does when they go to Europe, right? So the reason this is so confusing for people is they have to book separate one-ways or multi-city, and then they have to book their hotels separately and all of that, which is another reason it's best to use somebody that is a professional, because even though they may have a service fee or you may think you're spending more money, at the end of the day, you're saving money because we'll be able to figure out what package rate we can do for you. That'll be all inclusive under one company, like one umbrella, whether it be Delta, American, whoever else, depending on what you're doing. That's going to save you 20 to 40%. So if you're paying for something, it's still going to come up to, I feel like, less that you pay for your whole trip. And there's going to be way more conveniences, depending on the price of the trip, of course. I'm talking about luxury travel. So,
Okay.
But in general, it's just Delta Vacations is the only platform where you can do multi-city, multi-destination, and hotels. But the problem is Delta only works with the bigger hotel brands. So these like little cute countryside places in Tuscany, you're not going to book it through Delta, right? But they have the option where I could book one hotel on the front end, one on the middle, and one in the back end, and have another one completely something
Separate.
else, because they have these boxes you can fill out that you can pick a flight and a hotel, or no flight or no hotel. So just so they know where you're going. So it all shows up on their platform. So that's one example, if that makes sense. I hope I explained it correctly.
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh, I laugh like a hyena. What are the benefits to seeking your services compared to planning a trip independently? That was just answered.
Yep.
Can you share a bit about your background and how you got traveled? I know I did that on my own. What sets luxury travel apart from other forms? That was in the beginning. How do you stay updated with the latest trends? Did that. I'm a boss. What advice would you give someone looking to start their own travel business? Fuck yeah. How do you identify the right suppliers and partners for luxury travel
Um,
business? We did that already. Can you share some insights into the role of technology? We're kicking ass. What strategies do you employ to ensure your client's safety? I'm a boss. In the competitive industry, how do you how do you differentiate? Boom.
Done.
Boom. I feel like, what are the challenges you faced in your journey? I've already asked you that. What are some? Fuck yes. Can you share valuable lessons you've learned from your journey? You've already did that. Oh, sorry. What is your vision for the future of luxury travel, and how do you plan to contribute to it?
My vision for luxury travel in the future is
Space.
right. You would say that. Space. Yes. We'll see if we can get there.
Well,
And
I think I need to be a billionaire first.
yeah. Yeah. I envision, what is your vision in the future of luxury travel? And how do you plan to contribute to it? My vision for the future of luxury travel is for, from a travel agent or travel advisor standpoint, for for technology to continue to improve, to make our jobs more, not easy, but more simplistic to work for this specific niche, which is very different than others. And through whatever means that the different platforms can do that. And then I feel like I can contribute to it in a sense where I can actually teach people what luxury is, what others that travel on luxury trips want, and being aware of all the little details that matter that don't necessarily matter if it's somebody just trying to go somewhere and come back. It's all about the entire experience. So I feel like what I'm going to contribute is to educating others on how to do this the right way.
What are the details?
The details can be you have to recognize all the things that wherever they're staying or going has that will be like, oh my gosh, blow their mind. It could be a spa day at the hotel that you offer. It could be a special package where they drive a Ferrari around Tuscany and the windy roads. That includes, a meal and something else special, like a private dinner on the vineyard. It could mean giving them options for things that are not what you typically hear because it's a little higher end of things to do. For example, in Greece, going to one of the smaller islands that are nearby that's private and getting like a charter, just thinking a little outside of the box
Okay.
of things that people that aren't trying to spend so much or luxury travel don't necessarily have access to because it's too pricey. Figuring out what those things are so you present a more valuable proposal to your client and they realize like that person understands what I want.
Copy that. Copy that. Pick a card, any card.
If you could have only knees or elbows, what would you pick?
Ooh, I'd rather have knees. I'd rather have knees. I like being able to bend at the knee. I feel like if I could just walk around, I would be cool with that. I would not be happy without knees.
But you wouldn't be able to set up all your equipment.
I'd figure it out. I'd be able to bend at the knee and the hip. Yeah, for sure. I like that one. All right, I got one for you. You have to choose 3 animals to start a zoo. Who are you choosing?
I wouldn't start a zoo.
Huh. All right, next question.
Just being honest.
How long would you have to starve to become a cannibal?
I don't know. Chris, I can't imagine these animalistic instincts that take over people if I haven't been through it. I'm sorry.
Are you into sports? Who's the worst group of fans?
WNBA.
I was going to say the Eagles, but all right. All right.
They don't represent enough, I don't think.
I heard that. Give me this. Thank you so much for coming through.
You're
I feel like I
welcome.
found out a lot about you and about this particular industry.
Good.